Hello and welcome to another episode of Building Experiences. I'm Mark Schultz, and we've got a great session for you today. So thanks for joining. We get a lot of feedback about these sessions. A lot of people really appreciate the content. So to make sure, I'll just say it right now, as a YouTuber, hit the subscribe button and make sure that you don't miss out on future content. But look, this show is not about me. It's about me bringing in amazing people to share their wisdom and share their learnings. So let's get straight into it today with our guest. All right, I'd like to introduce Anubhav Sharma. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Mark.
Oh,
It's
mate,
fantastic.
it's a pleasure. I saw Anubhav do a presentation recently, and I thought we have to get him on the show to share this wisdom. So, look, Anubhav, for the people who don't know you, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi everyone. My name is Anubhav Sharma, and I'm here head of a senior solutions consultant at Adobe. And my primary job function is to bring the incredible technology innovations that Adobe do in front of the customers, and help them find the right fit solutions for the problems they're really looking to solve. So it's you could pretty much see me as a matchmaker,
Yeah,
for the software solutions really.
yeah,
So my primary expertise is Adobe Experience Manager, as we call it AEM, with pretty love. And what I've seen is that people see it in a very limited way, just as a web content management system. But it's well beyond that. There's so much capabilities that AEM as a platform offers. It has got sites, assets, it has got screens, and has got forms capabilities. So it's pretty much well beyond just a web content management system nowadays. And yeah, so I've been involved with the product for over 10 years now in different roles and capacities. And it's been really amazing to see the product evolve over these years with so much innovations happening every year. It always surprises me.
yeah.
And that's really exciting. And these innovations like keeping us always a market leader. And that's what really excites me and something we should all pat our backs for. So yeah, pretty excited and happy to be officially a part of this journey that Adobe's embarked on.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you, and you get out and actually talk about real challenges that people are facing with their content workflows, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we're going to talk about. Like, what are the sort of challenges teams face when they're managing outbound marketing content, and that's going to be the key topic for today.
Yeah,
In fact, yeah, and
let's get straight into that. All right, so for those of you who don't know what outbound marketing is, let's bring Anna back and let's talk about it. So, what does outbound marketing mean?
yeah, absolutely. So we're reaching out to the customers in different ways, right? So we reach out to our customers through websites and mobile apps and whatnot. But there are channels like where we are directly reaching out to the customers through emails. So all these sort of communications where we are reaching through emails or in-app messages, or which is directly prompting a user can pretty much be seen as an outbound marketing content. And we are going to be pretty much talking about emails in the scope of for today's discussion.
So, why? I mean, to clarify, I mean, I'm assuming most people know like outbound, but inbound is the website where the customer's coming to you. Outbound is where you're sending a message. But why would I want to have content managed, in the same place as my web content for email?
Absolutely, that's a great question, Mark, and that's where comes the idea of the consistent experience. So I've been working across one of the leading banks in Australia for in the past for quite a few number of years, and what I observed is that the teams that are building content for emails and the team who are building content for some of the inbound channels like the websites and the mobile apps, they're very disconnected. And not just the people that are disconnected, the tools they're using are also pretty much disconnected.
Yeah,
And what that makes what it ultimately leads to is that the kind of experience we are serving to the customer, where we want to reach out to a customer as a single brand and create an aura around the brand, and we want to make sure that our brand is recognized our customers have a relationship with the brand, they can immediately recognize it. So that is something which is missing in that case. So we want to just approach every customer through every channel, through every device in a similar way with similar look and feel. And that's where we need to think about how we could centrally manage all this content and give it that single brand image, a consistent brand image across every channel.
Yeah, and for teams who are thinking, well, hang on, I have a consistent style guide and branding, you're talking more about the actual content itself, right? So it's consistent. I mean, how are people doing this today? I'm assuming there's lots of meetings and spreadsheets to coordinate things. Is that what you're
Absolutely.
seeing?
Yeah. So even for, like, if you just think about the teams that are building emails, they're kind of like even engaging a lot of external agencies to get this done. So what they think of is like, okay, we got to create an email. So they think about how the email is going to look like. Then they're going to reach out to an external agents to build specifically an HTML for that email, and then it goes through a lot of approval processes, which is definitely hit down on the efficiencies that we need to have. So that's another point, that we need more efficient ways to be able to produce content for all these channels as well.
Great. So you've got some live demonstrations to show us today?
Yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
maybe just before you start, just give us what are we going to look at? What are you going to show us? Walk us through.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm going to talk about is, probably, if you could just share my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to look at today is how Adobe Experience Manager can work as a centralized platform that allows you to create content not just for your web channels or in a headless way for your mobile or native apps, but at the same time how you could use this platform to create content for your emails. And this is made possible with something called as email core components, which is a set of components that we have recently launched last year that are built on top of the core components. So you're going to take a look at how you could build those emails in AEM, and how then it integrates with some of our MarTech solutions like Adobe Campaign and Journey Optimize, and send those email templates in there. And then you can pretty much use them across your campaigns or your journeys. So yeah,
That
and
sounds
we also,
amazing. Well, let's
yeah,
get straight into it.
yeah, absolutely. So, so the first thing that we're gonna take a look at is how you could create those emails in AEM, while at the same time leveraging the modular content from AEM in the form of content fragments and experience fragments, and at the same time using the digital assets that we have got in AEM DAM. So we're going to look at how we curate all the email experience and then send it across to Adobe campaigns. So let's just jump straight into it. Righty, so what you see right in front of you is the AEM home screen. And where I'm going to go into right now is the sites console. That's the place where we create all the sort of pages and web content. So what I'm going to go into is my campaigns folder. We have created a set of marketing campaigns. And for the purpose of this demo, just think about, we have got a fictitious brand at Adobe called Weekend, which is an adventure sports brand that reach out to the customer and bring awareness about some of the adventure sports. So just think about that you're Weekend for a second, and you want to send across a feedback campaign to your customers. But what's interesting about this campaign is that you provide them a link to provide the feedback, but at the same time you want to give them a recommendation for the next adventure they might like to have with you. So you're going to take a look at how we actually curate this whole experience in AEM. So for that matter, if you want to create a new campaign, all you could do is to just click on the create button on the top right corner and hit create page. And then you're going to be served up with a set of templates, right? And these templates that you look here is something that your implementation team can provide you. So you would have your own structure to your emails. There's specific branding guidelines that you want to be aligned with. There are a set of components that you want to author these email experiences. So all those sort of policies and everything just come together, and we ship. Your implementation ships a template to you that you can straight away use to build those email experiences. So for the purpose of the demo, I've pretty much pre-created one of the email pages over here, and I'm just going to straight get into that. All right. So when I just like when it opens up, one of the things which I want to bring to your notice is that to be able to create email experiences, one really interesting thing that I want to bring forward is email core components. So this is the real power that is allowing you to build these email experiences in AEM. Because as you all know, the HTMLs and designs for emails and the web channels is very different. Because as far as email is concerned, there are thousands of different sort of rendering devices that an email is supposed to be rendered in, and the kind of HTML that we want to produce for those emails need to align with the kind of standards that make sure that email renders perfectly for and addresses every customer's need. And this is where email core components come into the picture. Ideally, they're built on top of the core components, but there are some additional services that make sure that the HTML that we are producing aligns with what we want to send across in an email. So, for example, instead of a lot of divs, you want to have table tags, right? And then we also want all the CSS styling to go inline rather than sitting in some separate files. So all these things get taken care of with these email core components. You can pretty much take a clone of this project, integrate it with your AEM project, and start exploring it.
And
So
when you say components, what do you mean? Like what types of components are there?
absolutely. So that's what I'm going to just talk about now. So when you look at this email that I've just curated, components basically are the building blocks that actually creates all of this experience, right? Take an example of a text component, which is just a rich text editor component that where you just added a set of text to be able to just author some experience. So if you just go on the top left into the components panel, these are some set of components that you see right here. So a button could be a component, a teaser could be a component, a text could be a component, and if you want to have a title component that is having different sort of uh, heading sizes, so you can have a title component that can deal with it. And these are like some set of very simple components, but you could pretty much build and extend these components to build complex components as well and add any sort of custom logic into that. So this is what components is, and these components coming together help us build these experiences. Such.
So before when you mentioned, there are different templates, etc. If someone's familiar with building using Experience Manager today, building a site template, is there much difference, or is it the same kind of concept?
It's pretty much the same concept as far as the template that you're building is pretty much a very similar concept around how you want to build those templates. It's just that the set of components that are specific to AEM are where you need to start using email core components to make sure those experiences align with your emails.
Yeah. So the output is email centric as opposed to web centric. The functionality and usability within the product is the same. It's the same drag and drop. It's the same template management. I'm assuming policies, everything like that is the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So all the sort of familiarity that you already have with the product is something saves your time to get onboarded to start building these campaigns, right? And
Yeah.
just saves you a lot
And
of time in that sense.
and without getting too much in the weeds, like often things like style systems, like CSS, etc. Like for email is very different to web. So, do we handle that in the product, or is there any considerations that people need to think about?
We definitely handle that into the product to make sure. So there's dedicated services written within these email core components, which make sure that we write a service for inline styling.
Okay.
So it converts the entire HTML output into and put them into the HTML and embed it into that. So you don't need to really worry about it. And if you just want to play around a little bit around that, there are some additional configurations. So if there are some specific div tags or some specific HTML elements that you want to get rid of, you can pretty much configure that in the backend as well. So it provides at the same time a lot of flexibility to you as well around how you want to produce your HTML.
Yeah, great. So the bulk of the setup is really just around adding your design, your styling, and theming, and then it's back to using AM as the authoring environment we know. Okay,
Absolutely,
cool.
absolutely, that's right. So we've already looked at some of the very basic components right here, but what I want to draw your attention towards is a very powerful component. This is where it gets really interesting. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the segmentation component. And this is going to talk about how you can revolutionize these emails with the power of segmentation. Segmentation components allow you to serve content for serve different content for different segment of users. But what makes it even more powerful is that, you know, within the single email, you could pretty much personalize different parts of this email. So you can drag the segmentation component more than once onto the page to and for different set of audiences, you can serve different content. So let's just have a look at it, how that works. So I'm just going to drag and drop a segmentation component onto the page. And the first thing is going to ask me is to configure it. So I'm just going to go ahead and configure it. And the first thing is to add a segment. So which segment I want to show what content. So I'm going to click add segment, and the thing is going to ask me is what content do you want to serve. So you've got again a set of components that we could use to serve some set of content. But what I'm going to use this time is what is called as experience fragment. So if you don't know what experience fragment is, so experience fragment is again a collection of components that build an experience. And now you might argue is what you might argue is that this is this sort of the same definition you give for a page, which is also a collection of components. But the key difference between experience fragments and a page is that experience fragment is just, you could think of as a submodule or a module or a small part of that page, which is a shareable experiences, which is a shareable experience that you can send across or use within your pages or send across to your social channels or even export it to Adobe Target to do some on-site personalization. So so without further ado, let's just use that experience fragment for this experience. And the next thing is going to ask me is what segment or what customers do you want to show this content to. So let's just think about it. Your data and insight teams come to you at weekend and they told you that the people in Melbourne, they tend to like biking as an adventure sport more. And at the same time, your Sydney people are having a greater propensity to go surfing, probably at a Bondi Beach. So let's just pick Melbourne.
I think you have to be careful there. We don't stereotype Melbourne and Sydney people, but I'm going to go with that analogy. That's fine.
I agree. Well, good. So this is by the way a bit on the kind of popularity of the sports, but yeah, it's definitely the choices for everyone are different. So no offenses. All right, so I've got something added for my Melbourne users, and now I'm going to add another segment and add an experience fragment. And this time, I'm going to change the condition to say that the city where the person lives is Sydney. So once you're happy with that, I'm just going to mark done. So you already have specific experience fragments that you want to add for these two locations. So how about we just add the content now for the Melbourne audiences. So to do that, I'm just going to go into the asset picker, and within the asset picker, I can just go into the experience fragments, and let's just do a quick search for a relevant experience fragment, and I'll do one for biking. Right, so here we go. So just drag and dropped an experience. So you got an experience pre-created for my Melbourne users. Now let's just take a quick preview of that. And if I want to change this experience for the Sydney users, let's just add some experience fragment for the Sydney people. So I'm just gonna this time search for surfing as a sport. Just gonna drag and drop. And yeah, so this is the kind of experience that you have now. Just think about, we have got two segments. One is for Melbourne users, one for Sydney users, and they're getting two different experiences within the same template. So you don't need to create two different templates. So it just brings in a lot of reusability, removes your problem of content duplication within AEM. So that's really powerful in that sense and brings more efficiencies. So once you're pretty much ready with the kind of experience that we have built now,
Before you move on, a couple of things I just want to clarify. So when you say experience fragments, for those of customers who have been using experience fragments for web, are we saying we can bring web content here, or are you just saying it's a collection of email components?
These are a collection of email components. So
Yeah.
experience, the way experience fragments are going to be created is exactly the same. The thing is that the components that you allowed in the experience fragment for emails are going to be email core components to make sure when these experience fragments get consumed onto the page, they're rendered properly on your email clients.
So it's a email experience fragment versus a web experience fragment.
Absolutely. So the
Yeah.
kind of template that you're gonna use to create the experience fragment. So whenever you create an experience, just like a page, you select a template. So your template makes sure that the component that are allowed in that template to create email experiences will only allow email core components instead of any sort of web components.
Yeah. And then just on the segmentation, you very confidently put in recipient.location. Um, how would a content author know that? Is that a conversation with, the email team to say, here is the different audience types?
Absolutely. So this is one. So all the decisioning, what AEM sends across to campaign is a conditional construct, which says if this segment qualifies, show this content. And if the other segment qualifies, show this content. And the decisioning that happens is at the campaign's end. So your this whole conditional construct gets sent across to campaign. Within the campaign, the decision happens and you serve the right content. But
Got it.
the way you get these segments is that you need to coordinate with your campaign team, and they could just have a quick look at the schema and just tell you, where what attribute you're going to use to target different segments.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's all about it. So we got pretty much ready with the kind of email experience that we wanted to create. The next thing I'm going to do is to probably, if I want to send it across to Adobe Campaign, I'm going to do is start a workflow called Approve for Adobe Campaign. And as soon as I do that, it's just going to trigger a workflow where a message is going to be sent across in the inbox of the approvers, and they can approve it, and then it just gets synced to Adobe Campaign. So this is one of the templates that I previously pushed into Adobe Campaign. So it is pretty much already in sync, as you can see in the status. So what I'm just gonna do is straight away jump into Adobe Campaign to see how it looks like. Right, short-lived session. So I might just have to log in again. So as you could see, we just added some additional content in our template, which just doesn't appear right now. So all you got to do to make sure like that content appears, you just got to hit it refresh content, and in a matter of a couple of seconds, it's going to pull the latest content that you've just created in AEM. And there you go. And as I said, like the conditional construct thing, all this decisioning, like recipient.location.city equals Melbourne, if that qualifies, is going to show the biking experience, or else it's going to show the surfing experience. So once I'm happy with the sort of email that I'm looking to send, I'm just going to analyze the delivery to see, that there are not any sort of issues with this email in the way it is structured, and so on and so forth. So once it's all done, we can pretty much hit confirm delivery, and you're all done. So hopefully the email should now be in your inbox. So let's just take a look at that. So what I'm gonna do is get back into a demo instance, a demo webmail instance, and within this demo inbox, you could pretty much see that you have got two emails already which have landed just now. So if Nicole opens the email, and Nicole lives in Sydney, so the kind of experience that she gets is a surfing experience. Whereas if Andrew opens the same email, the kind of experience he gets, or the recommendation he gets, is a biking recommendation. So in just a few steps, you have pretty much moved away from a pretty much generic email that you're about to send to your customers to a more personalized experience.
That's pretty amazing as far as simplicity of being able to just drag and drop and edit content. I know this is a demo, and I'm not critiquing your design skills, but if anyone looking at this going, well, that's a pretty simplistic email. Ours are really branded and have different sections, etc. Is there any limitations on design, or is it whatever you'd like to do?
It's more like all you just pretty much free to play around with the designs. All you got to do is to just add more CSS, play around with the components, and add the sort of design look and feel that you want to get for that. So it's just like obviously the demo. We're just using very basic, styling and stuff over there. But yeah, you can pretty much play around with that and make it more
Okay.
visually appealing as you
Okay.
like it.
So that's the first use case. So email into campaign. I know you've got a lot more to show us. So how about we get straight into part two?
Absolutely. So the next part that I'm going to talk about is, so you've already got an email in the inbox, which is having a feedback link. The next thing is I'm going to show you is we've already used an experience fragment as well. So now in the next part, what we're going to look at is how we can create a variation of that experience fragment and export it to Adobe Target to deliver a consistent or a consistent experience on the web channel, just as we have on the email channel, and to improve the brand image and improve the engagement for the customers. So let's just take a look at the second step. All right, so we're now in the all right, so we're in the AEM home screen. And what I'm going to do next is to go into the experience fragment that I just created. Sorry, so what I'm going to do is to just click on the experience fragment style to navigate my way to the experience fragment. And here I've created an experience fragment for the recommendations right here. So here's my biking in Melbourne experience that I had pretty much added onto the page. So this is the sort of experience that we had added into our email experience. And let's just take a look at, if you want to create a variation of this, you can click create variation, and pretty much select a template. As I said, you could pretty much select a template as to which one you want to use. So if you're creating as the question that you were just asking, Mark, if you want to create an email variation, you could use an email variation template. But if you want to create a web variation, you can use a web variation template, and that just gonna make sure you get the right set of components to build those experiences.
Right. So I don't, as a content author, I don't have to think about the code behind the markup, etc. I just think about using email template for email content, web template for web content.
Absolutely, and that's the beauty of it. You really don't think about the HTML at all, and like in a way, like when you're creating these emails manually, and if you want to make a small change in the CSS, for example, for your component or some emails, right? You got to make that change into n different places, right? Because you just got to go, because all the style is put in line, so you got to put a lot of effort in making all that small changes in a number of places. But with all these components in place, they take care of all of that to make sure it saves the time for you. So moving on, we've already created a web variation of this experience, which looks something like this. And over here, I can use the style system to give it a little bit look and feel. And this styling system is something you can use with your email core components as well, to give a different set of styles for a piece of content as to how you want it to appear. So
And
I'm
that's
gonna
just CSS, right? That the team have put in there. So again, it's no back end coding or anything. It's just taking the markup and adding styles to it.
absolutely. All right, so let's just try to pick a different style over here. So just use the feature style, and this looks good to me. And once I'm happy with that, I can pretty much export it to Adobe Target. All right, so it's just going to take a couple of seconds to just send this to Adobe Target, and there you go. So your experience should have now landed into your Adobe Target instance, and all the place where you can see these experience fragments is what's called as the offers tab in Target, where you get all these sort of experiences that you've pushed. So biking in Melbourne, surfing in Sydney, so on and so forth. So once you have the content being pushed from AEM, the next thing that you got to do is to create an activity in Adobe Target. And what activity does is it just is a collection of three things. What content do you want to serve to the customer, which is these experience fragments, what audience you want to serve. So you could pretty much go ahead and select the audience and what location you want to target. And that is something which Visual Experience Composer can help us do. So let's just jump onto the activity session. So I've created a demo activity over here. And what I've just pretty much done is, if you over this feedback page, if you just scroll down, I have added the experience fragment that we have created for Melbourne Adventures over here. So instead of the default experience, we're pretty much showing up uh, the experience fragment that we just used. And similar for the Sydney Adventurers, we are getting this particular experience that you see on the screen. So once we're pretty much happy with the kind of personalization we want to do on the feedback page, we can pretty much save and close the activity, and it's just going to take a few seconds to sync it up on the edge clusters for Target. And once it has done so, now why what I just showed you, why is it really important? And now there comes a point. So what last few steps that we have done, what difference does it make? And that is what I'm going to show you now. So imagine Nicole just opens her email and she get a feedback link, and at the same time she get a product recommendation. And she liked the product recommendation, and straight away go ahead and click on it, and that ultimately leads to conversion, say. But what happens with Andrew is that the recommendation that you've provided him on the email is something that he didn't catch his eye and didn't take a look at it, and he straight away click on the feedback button, right? So now when he was filling up the feedback onto the page and he was writing a few words about the kind of experience he had, he got excited. It was amazing adventure, and he that just excited him to book another adventure and plan out another adventure for him. And this time we have pretty much given the same recommendation onto the page, and this time it catches his, Andrew's eye, and he clicked on the Explore Now button, get onto the landing page, read about it, and this time he made a booking, which ultimately lead to conversion. So basically providing this consistent experience across web and email channels ultimately help you drive more conversions. So
I
yeah,
think it's
that's
I think it's important to just pause for a second and stress the importance of this, right? So the consistent feedback we hear is around the customer journey and how the fragmented experiences between silos is where the customer gets confused. I've got one channel offering me one thing, I go to another channel, there's a different offer. So now we can actually have a consistent experience. And I know you're showing a very simplistic, if I'm in Sydney or Melbourne example, but it's any data point and marrying that to the appropriate content, right, across channels.
absolutely the potential is way more than the kind of use case we are just currently looking at.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. All right. So let's finish this off. And is that the last bit for that section? We on to section 3?
Absolutely. So this is the last section, and it's a bonus one. Uh, now, what I'm going to talk about is we create these email templates and send to campaign. This time, I'm going to talk about how you can send it across to Adobe Journey Optimizer. And just for your information, this particular integration is currently is in the beta phase, and it's kind of a pre-adoption phase. So I think if you want to go for it and try it out, you can probably reach out to Mark or someone at Adobe to see if you can pretty much enroll for that. So let's just take a look at how it works.
Yeah, let's do it.
All good. Right, so what you're seeing right in front of you is your Journey Optimizer instance. Right, so within Journey Optimizer, I am into the content management part of it, which is content templates. And at the moment, you can just see just one template out there. The source of the template is Journey Optimizer. So you can pretty much create some sort of templates in Journey Optimizer itself. But what is of our interest is how we could create templates in AEM and push it to Journey Optimizer. And that's what we're going to do next. So let's just jump onto your AEM authoring instance. And within the AEM authoring instance, what we have come up with is a new UI for you to be able to build templates for this purpose, and that's called as Outbound Marketing UI. So let's just get into that. So within the Outbound Marketing UI, on the left, you could see a set of folders structure where you can pretty much structure the way you want to run your campaigns. As you can see, like in my case, I have created folders for the kind of campaigns I want to run. You could create nested folders or whatever suits your business needs, really. So, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing as we did for campaign. I've got a Voice Your Victory campaign over here, where I'm just going to create again a feedback email that we just created. So if you just want to create a new one, you can pretty much click on that create button on the top right. And again, it's gonna be a very similar process where you select a template and then proceed with creating that experience. All good. So since I've already created an experience, a particular email template, so I'm just going to use that and click on the edit button to open that.
So what's different about this template versus the other template that you had before?
So there's nothing different. Both these templates are pretty much using the same set of components. So there's effectively no difference, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah. So over here, I'm again going to add a product recommendation. So for that matter, I'm going to drag and drop an experience fragment onto the page. And imagine we've previously created an experience fragment. So let's just use a similar one onto the page. Right. So we've already started reusing some of the content we are already creating in AEM. We have got this experience right here. And now, once I'm happy with what I've created, all I got to do is to get back into my outbound marketing UI and select the template. And sorry for my camera. Yeah, so I'm just gonna at the bottom of the screen you can see the send to button. You just click on that and just give it a name. They want to send it across to. All right, so interesting thing. Which Journey Optimizer instance do you want to send it across to? So I want to send it across to particular instance that I want to
And
do.
you've
So
obviously got access to many as a Adobe employee for testing, etc. But most
yeah,
customers would probably have one or a sandbox or something like that, right? Yeah.
they might just not have to do anything of this sort
Yeah.
because most probably every customer will be having a single org where their AEM instance and Journey Optimizer instance is going to be sitting. So you pretty much got to do no configurations out there. It should all be integrated, well integrated without any configurations. So it should just be about just opening this dialog and hitting send. Righty, so I'll just hit send. I'll just take a couple of seconds to push it across to Adobe Journey Optimizer.
Demo time always takes longer than
Oh,
a real world when you're waiting on it.
oh yeah,
But there we go.
there we go. Finally. Okay, so I'm just gonna refresh my Journey Optimizer instance to see whether my template has really made its way into the Journey Optimizer content. And yes, it has. So let's just open the email template, and I'm gonna hit edit content. And interesting part is you can pretty much preview the entire content of whatever you've pushed across from AEM into Journey Optimizer. And this is where you can check how your email actually looks like in Journey Optimizer. And you could pretty much see it across different devices. For example, how it's going to appear on mobile phone. This is going to give you. So one interesting thing is that all these email core components are making sure that the emails you create are responsive in nature. So you really don't need to worry about how it's going to appear on different viewports or different device sizes. And as example of that is you can pretty much control which device you want to render it. So for example, iPhone 12 Pro Max, this is how it's going to look like in a portrait mode or in a landscape mode. This is how it's going to look like. So you could pretty much control which device you want to see it in. And, and once you're happy with that, you could pretty much send it across to your customers through setting up a campaign or a journey. So over here I've got some test profiles which I'm going to simulate it against. So I've got a profile created for myself, and you can see there's a bit of personalization in there with my name on the top. So if I just want to send it across to Andrea, you could say Andrea's name on the top with the same email up there. So let's just try to see if you can set approve. All good. So you just sent approve, says proof processing. I'll take a couple of seconds to be able to get into my inbox. But yeah, that's all about it. If it just get there, I'm gonna show you in a sec.
Awesome. And in case you're not familiar with campaign and journey optimizer, etc., there's different solutions that Adobe provides. We just wanted to focus today on the content workflow. And as you can see, the authoring's the same, the templates are the same, We've got the connectors for both, so you can easily produce content and push wherever it's needed. But then actually have that consistent experience, I think, from the targeting and messaging. So is the email coming through? Did you want to show that, or are we wrapping up now?
I probably like it might take a couple of seconds sometimes to get into your inbox.
All right, I
Yeah,
think we know what
I've
email
pretty much
looks like,
completed
so
the
we
work,
can
but if I
probably,
pretty much got it, I'll let you know.
yeah, all right. Well, where that was amazing. Thank you, first of all. That was an amazing walkthrough of how the content looks, and the idea of being able to think about building content using the exact same tools that I use for web, but also repurposing and using those same skills to build email, knowing that I don't have to do an export and a re-import and working through that. So hopefully it actually encourages people not to just create emails like they're doing today, but actually spend more time creating variations and experiment with different personalization options. Anything else you'd like to add as far as what you covered today and how it looks?
Absolutely. The first thing that I'm going to show you is that the experience has just landed in my inbox.
All right,
So
you want to just prove that out? We've got the email.
really,
All right, it works.
very well to talk. So you could pretty much see the email that has just landed in my inbox. So it's all good.
Fantastic.
So
All right,
other
love
than
a
that,
demo when it works for end to end without any hiccups. So well done for that.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
it's always good to have a smooth demo.
Yeah, no, it's good. So, all right, so we've gone through that. I think the workflows are good. This is all documented on Experience League, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you could pretty much find all the sort of documentation. What I could do, Mark, is probably supply you with a set of links. You can add it in the description box for
Yeah,
people who want to explore.
yeah. So just
So,
look down below and you'll see the details. So look, let's wrap it up there. Anubhav, I want to thank you again for joining us. Can we get you on the show in the future to show additional amazing things?
absolutely, I'd love to be part of that.
Great. And if you're watching and you don't want to miss, more exciting content, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Apparently, there's a little bell that will notify you as well. I'm not an experienced YouTuber, you can tell this, but thanks for watching the show today. It's great to see you all, and until the next time, we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.